Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nature's Calls podcast. As always, I am your host, Nature Erdman, here to talk about all things Chargers football. Preseason game 3, week 2, whatever you want to call it, is officially in the books. So I want to get through and break down a little bit of what we saw specifically from the starter side of things. So without further ado, here are Nature's Calls. So Herbert's preseason debut for his career. Can you believe it? It feels weird just knowing that he's had injuries or Brandon Staley is a coach and he didn't play him in the preseason, which is fine with me. It doesn't matter that he didn't play in the preseason. The rookie season even was the COVID year, so that nothing happened there. There was no preseason, so it was kind of funny just in year 6, first year in his new extension, that we're seeing Justin Herbert's preseason debut. But but yeah, so I mean, we had a some positives throughout the game that I'm not really going to touch on, and it's not because I'm being a negative Nancy. It's because I really want to focus more on the starter drives, so the offense and the defense first drives of the game. If I talked about the entire game, it would probably take too long, and it wouldn't necessarily go into the detail level that I want to go into. So, not going to hear too much about Trey Harris kind of having his somewhat breakout game, which don't get me wrong, happy to see him balling out there, happy to silence some of the not doubters, but people who are a little more concerned about his game. I think he has a lot more to show than what we saw out there on Saturday. So, but I really want to focus on what we saw from with all of the starters for the most part out there. Obviously, no Derwin, no Khalil, and you could feel that for sure. And so, just got to talk about what I thought. So let's drive through the offense here, and then we'll kind of wrap up with the defense. So I want to go this play by play. So first throw, um, Justin Herbert's first throw, quick option straight out to QJ. Play design was that way. He was wide open, had nobody near him, but the throw was bad. Could QJ have caught in it? Yes, I do think he could have caught the football. I'm not going to count it as a drop because it was so low, and even if he did catch the ball, he would have gotten smacked for no reason and gained 0 yards. But he could have theoretically caught the ball. It was a bad throw by Herbert by all accounts. It was extremely low. Shake off the rust. I'll take it. It is what it is. I'm not going to freak out about one play. Um, there's not a whole lot you can judge on the offense when you snap the ball, immediately throw it to your wide receiver on the outside. So, um, not the worst design I've ever seen. Like, if I've been saying it for 2 years now, get QJ involved in a situation where he can use his after the catch ability. So happy to see that that's kind of been worked into the play design. So if there's anything I'll take from that, it's that. So second play, excellent design by Roman. This was the lad, I think 17-yard catch. Excellent play design. As soon as the ball snaps, coverage holds up. You've got Conklin coming across. You've got KLS going to the outside. No, sorry, QJ going to the outside. Both of those guys wide open. Obviously, the defense shifts that way towards both of them. They honestly stay kind of open. Linebackers drop closer to Conklin. So, I mean, there was a little bit of coverage coming to his side. Would have been less open, obviously. Still probably would have been a 6-yard gain. But because those linebackers both shadow over to Conklin, you've got Lad wide open. Wide open, makes a guy miss, kind of hustles and moves the way that he does. A little bit of kind of broken tackle in there, you could say. It's preseason. I'm not gonna like you're almost playing two-hand touch. Like, you're still making the tackles, like it's still happening. But with the starters are out there, people are a little bit more hands off, at least until the next play. Um, but great throw to Ladd, great reception by Ladd, great shake and bake, great play design by Roman, and good protection up front. Absolutely no complaints. And honestly, this whole drive, as we get through it, is a microcosm of exactly all of our concerns and the positives as Chargers fans. So, first two plays, error on offense, fantastic move on offense, fantastic play design across the board on that. And then you get to the third play. Deep bomb to Quentin Johnston down the sideline. Defender gets a finger on it. Quentin doesn't haul on the ball. He's bobbling it a little bit, gets pushed out in front of him enough to where a defender has an excuse to come out there and make a huge hit on him. Quentin obviously takes the hard hit. I don't think that was the brunt of it. but obviously falls head first backwards, smacks his head on the turf, and gets a concussion. And it did not look like a good concussion. Like, as if you're gonna have good and bad concussions, there are concussions, let's be honest, that you don't see as much on the field. There's even ones that get flagged down from the booth. Now, this was a concussion, clear as day for everybody to see. Completely laid out on the turf. I hope he gets well. I have a lot of head injuries myself. I know what they can do to people. Um, I really hope that this doesn't derail him in any way. We've obviously seen concussions happen once and they continue to happen. I hope that that's not the case for him. I hope that he's able to properly stay sidelined without any contact while his brain recovers and he can get back to his normal self. That has nothing to do with him as a football player. That is just I don't like seeing it. It sucks. These are still people out there put their body on the line for us. I greatly appreciate it for them for it. They're all compensated very well for it. I'm not going to say that that's not a thing, but you don't want to see it happen. You don't wish injury upon people. And will say what you want about Quentin Johnston. He's a good dude. So, um, anyway, let's talk about the rest of the play. So, Herbert could have let him a little bit more. I will say, I'm not going to pinpoint it on anyone. Coverage was pretty sticky. He made a really heads up play, getting his hand around and getting a fingertip on that ball. But Herbert could have let him a little bit more or put it to a little more to the outside shoulder instead of bringing him inside where the safety was coming across. So obviously it put him in the position to get hit as far as the bobble of the play. I mean, that's a combination of the finger and Quentin. Like Quentin still could have caught the ball. But again, that's a pass breakup. Like that's what that is in the NFL. Like, do you know how hard it is to catch something that just got tipped right before you're supposed to catch it? Like, yes, he could have had it, but this is Quentin Johnston, who we know has hands issues. Let's say that of all balls is not one I'm expecting him to catch. Um, and then of course, yeah, it's more so sucks that he continued to try and go for the bobble afterward, that which led to him getting hurt. Hate to see it. From a positive standpoint, glad to see that the protection on that side of things holding up as well as it did in the early goings in those first two passing plays, second and third down. Um, but yeah, I mean, heal up, Quentin. Moving on, fourth down. What was this? The Marion Hampton run. This was the Marion Hampton run for about 5 yards. He only got a couple of carries in there. So solid protection up front, good blocking, got a decent hole. Obviously, his physicality and burst really showed on this run. Defenders still met him at the second level, didn't let him burst into that second level. But we're going to take 4 and 5 yards all day long, Chargers fans, all day long. Like we've been waiting for this for years. Anything that we can, on obvious rushing downs, get more than 2 to 3 yards, that's all we wanted. And if you get that level of burst, obviously these are the Rams' kind of second stringers. They didn't play any starters. But if you get any of that burst and that acceleration of what we saw from Amari and Hampton yesterday on that play, that's what I'm looking for. These games really gave me a lot of, or these runs today really gave me a lot of kind of faith in the running game. I always worry about any rookie being a major contributor, specifically kind of later first round picks. Running back obviously is expected to be so when you take one that high, but I really wanted the Najee Marion Hampton combo. I want that health to our offense and him not to have to carry such a load. But the way that he's ran so far looks like he's more than capable of doing that, even behind our offensive line, which is going to be more critical than it's ever been before, or than we planned on it being. Let's put it that way. Fifth play, strike to KLS. Absolutely gorgeous football. Good protection again. Like first half of the drive, and I watched this game late. I couldn't watch it in real time. So I had seen some of the Twitter updates about the offensive line woes and things like that. And so at this point in the game, I'm like, what are they talking about? Like their protection's holding up. KLS's ball tracking ability and concentration is fantastic. Gets downfield, I don't know if you technically call it a big play. What was it, 17, 18 yards? It could have been more than that. Herbert fits it into the window, gets it right past the defender's hand where only KLS could catch it. But that doesn't make it an easy ball to catch. He had it right there, and getting his head around late. Just an elite player when it comes to, and don't get carried away, elite for a rookie, but at his ball tracking and concentration is fantastic, and it's one of those things that you just can't teach. Clearly, he's got a lot of physical gifts that are starting to show themselves as well. Uh, but seeing something like that's something that's just hard to teach along the way. You don't often get that much better at it. Very few players do. Devontae Adams was one of those, but you just it's impressive to see. We've seen it through training camp. We've seen it in practices. We've seen it in preseason games, and we saw it here today. That was a beautiful ball by Herbert. Beautiful catch by KLS. Excellent job by the offensive line. Another play I'm very happy with. Didn't love the entirety of the play design. That's if I'm being nitpicking. So, and this is where the drive starts to stall a little bit. So, this is the Herbert sack, goes to scramble out right, gets sacked. I think it was 44, who actually beat Zion and made the sack, but that was only available because of the pressure allowed by Pipkins. So defender gets right by him. Very quick pressure in there. Didn't have any time for the play to develop. Didn't look like the play was developing well in the first place. But defender gets right through. There was no safety outlet for Herbert. Scrambles out to try and make a play, get out of there. Nobody's available. Pressure comes in. He slides down. 44 makes contact with him. He goes down. Again, both kind of sides there faltered a little bit. Pipkins was the bigger concern. That's the one that's really going to kill you in the NFL level, getting beat by there's a second stringer, and just absolutely got by him. Zion lost his battle too, I would say. Like, that's going to end up being a pressure in the NFL, but didn't matter because there was already pressure coming from the other side. So, not an ideal play. Hate to see it. Again, especially starters versus second stringers, but they're going to have some growing pains. I guess Mekhi Becton's still out, so I guess it's not totally starters out there, which I do think will help that right side of the offensive line if he plays. And we're getting to that point now where it's becoming a little bit of a concern. Then we get into the seventh play of the drive. Zion gets completely lost. Not in a necessarily like the disguised pressure where he backs out. Zion didn't necessarily do anything completely wrong, but he just kind of stands there full wingspan, reads that there's no pressure, takes about a second longer than I would want him to, shifts over to alt because he thinks alt's going to get beat over on that side, which he kind of looks like he's going to. At that point, the guys on the right side of the line, Bozeman and Salyer playing right guard. They shift over, they lose their guy, go to solo block, expecting Zion, I think, to come over and pick up the help. At this point, he's already slid over to alt, lets the rusher in. It was enough time for a play to develop, and so we got the pass off. But those are the type of situations that we struggled with a lot last year, those kind of disguised stunt look. And obviously, that wouldn't have gone very well in a regular season game against starters, probably very similar to it, just because it was more of a not somebody getting beat, but just an actual design in the way that they ran the defense. And so I don't know how much of a difference that would be on the starter level, but it's still not an ideal situation. But yeah, throw to KLS. Oh, this was that deep throw to KLS. That's what it was. So obviously, it still gives Herbert enough time for a play to develop. KLS down into the front side of the end zone on that right side. Just excellent coverage. I think KLS probably still could have made a play, even with the defensive coverage, had his arm not get tangled up. He gets one arm up in time and just doesn't get the second hand there to make the play. Excellent effort, solid throw. I don't know how much better of a throw he could have gotten there, maybe a little higher, but I don't think it would have made any difference because KLS wouldn't have had his hand up in time to get there. So good placement, good tracking by KLS. You could tell he wanted to get there, but sticky coverage by the defender. So still love to see the success in there, given the other negative aspects of the play. And then we have the Hampton run. to finish off the drive, which was kind of a give up play. I'm fine with it. We've seen what already happened through this drive. We've played 7 downs. Get Justin Herbert off of the field. Don't risk anything else. Run a Marion Hampton up the middle, see what he could do. And oh boy, could he do something. Again, that hole buckled so quickly. So quickly. He found a spot, forced his way through. How many people touched him on that play? 6? Like the physicality to his game. And I know so many people touted it, and maybe I just didn't watch good film on Omari and Hampton, and maybe I just watched Willie Lampkin so much that I attributed more to that offensive line. I remember my big knock on him was, then what I watched felt very Blake Cormy. What's his name? Who went to the Broncos? Audric Estime. And all I said with Audric Estime last year was like, he just looks like a bowling ball that gets rolled down the line, and the Notre Dame offensive line just always has a massive hole for him. And I thought a lot of the same when it came to Marion Hampton. Not nearly to the same caliber, but enough that it concerned me about his game at the next level, as well as just level of competition that he played and some of those games. But no, his physicality appears to be translating. I mean, it's still second stringers. He still wasn't playing against the starters, but it doesn't matter who you are. Those are still grown men out there. And Omarion Hampton was making grown men look like children. Like they just could not get him down. That was exactly why you go draft him. I've said for a while I would prefer to have Najee on that first down, second down, Amari and Hampton, second down, third down, kind of play him in that rotational role. If Amari and Hampton's body can hold up to the touches, then we got ourselves a 3-down workhorse. Obviously, you're going to need to rotate guys in. Like, you're going to be somewhat of a committee. It's 2025. As Greg Roman said, it's medieval times to think you're just going to have one running back play all the snaps. Don't let him fool you. I mean, if that just means he's going to play 70% of the snaps, which is fine. This isn't going to be a true timeshare where you got a guy running 40, a guy running 40, and a guy running 20. Like, he does not use running backs in the passing game enough for you to have a third down back on the field that much. Like, someone's going to have to earn the right to see serious touches, and that could happen. And that's excellent for the team, not so much for fantasy players, but that's excellent for the team. But if no one else is there to step up, do not think for a second that Amari and Hampton's going to be kept off the field. There's just no way it happens. There's just no way, especially with a run like that. So, and then the drive concludes. Cameron Dicker, chip shot field goal, easy peasy lemon squeezy, call it a day. Everybody gets out of there. So, some good, some bad. We had obviously some solid protections up front against the second team defense, and we had some really rough plays up front against a second team defense. So, hated to see it, loved to see certain aspects of it. The Quentin injury obviously kills me. Luckily, we've insulated ourselves with, or gotten lucky to some extent with KLS hitting the way that he has, and was smart enough to sign Keenan. Either way, this shouldn't linger into the regular season. I'm not worried about that, but obviously it is still a concern. And you hope that he's well and that he'll be ready to go with no hiccups moving forward, that this isn't a Chris Olave situation where they become repeating lingering issues, because concussions can absolutely be that way. So prayers up for QJ. Defensive side of the football, I didn't love the showing. Obviously some plays throughout the game, like the Terrell Edwards interception, that sick, nasty, mentally twisted a little bit, disguised pressure, simulated pressure in the preseason by Jesse Minter was absolutely insane. There was some good plays by some of the guys who were, again, still pushing to make the roster on the back end. But on that first drive where we had the starters out there against their second string offense, that didn't give me a whole lot of hope. I don't know if it gave you guys any different feelings, but that was rough. Obviously, there's no Khalil Mack, no Derwin James out there, but the middle of the field just looked accessible at will from a defensive standpoint. Like the offense could go wherever they wanted through the middle of the field. There was always one guy who seemed out of alignment. quite a bit of that was Denzel, which was kind of odd to me, being the vet that he is. And I have, again, one watch through. I'll have to go through and watch it a little bit more. But multiple times it just seemed like one guy in the wrong position, one guy in a critical location making the wrong read. Don't get me wrong, there were some great plays in there. Like Alohi made some excellent plays in there before he got hurt. Which, I mean, his ball instincts are always fantastic. They have been. That's what makes him a great player, I think, more than anything else, is his instincts towards the ball. But just looked a little bit lost out there in certain aspects for the starters out there. Run defense looked terrible. Blake Corum and that offensive line, like they were parting like the Red Seas. Blake Corum had some good runs. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was entirely the run defense fault. Like he did a great job reading the defense, finding the hole. He was a very patient runner throughout that drive. But we also had the chance to make some plays, win some blocks, and make the tackle, and we just didn't. Not necessarily a tackling issue, but not getting the right angle, not getting the right read, not putting yourself in a position, and allowed them to run all up through us, which obviously, unless you're a new Chargers fan, this is not news to you. This has been something we've been battling for a few years now. So I hope that over the next couple of weeks they get it all figured out, because I can't take much more of being a team that they can just run all over and we can't run the ball. This was supposed to be the year that got fixed, and I'm still holding out hope that it is, but that obviously didn't look good in this preseason game. Derwin's huge in run support. Khalil Mack's huge in run support. So let's not get it twisted that those two guys weren't on the field, but we were also playing a second team offense. So take that for what it's worth. Without Khalil, we also were lacking some pass rush juice against second string offensive line. I don't love to see that. It's not new news to us. Like we know that that's an issue. Um, I think that a lot of fans want to go trade for a Micah Parsons or a Trey Hendrickson. I would love to trade for a Micah Parsons. Obviously, the financial implications of that don't make it super likely. Also, how often do top 5 defensive players, or top 5 edge rushers at least, in the NFL get traded? Not very often. Even Jerry Jones is smart enough to eventually sign that check before he leaves. I know that Micah Parsons had his frustrations. I think he's staying Dallas Cowboy. Now, opposite end of the spectrum, Trey Hendrickson. Would love to have him on the Chargers. Do not get me wrong. I would love for him to be in powder blue. I just don't know if the acquisition cost is worth it. I don't know what the Bengals are asking for. Probably way more than they should be. But I mean, if he's not going to sign with the team and they're not going to sign him, which at this point it does not seem that they will, I feel like a trade is imminent at this point. It just depends on what that compensation package looks like. Like, I'm assuming the new contract is absolutely the end all be all of this. He's going to need a new contract no matter where he goes. Who's willing to pay him, and what is he asking for? Like, what is this contract that he wants from the Bengals that they're getting to an impasse on? Because personally, I don't want to pay Trey Hendrickson 4 years, 120 million. Like that doesn't sound realistic to me. I like Trey Hendrickson a lot, but how much juice does Khalil Mack have? Does he have another year? Like, where do you put him in the rotation? You put Thule back into his original position and just count on the fact that Thule's not going to progress anymore? They could be seeing that. They could see that, okay, you're a number 3 pass rush guy, and that's okay. Like, it's okay. He still brings a tremendous amount of value to our team. But if you're going to make a trade and invest that kind of money into a player, I would obviously rather it be a higher caliber player. Now, Trey Hendrickson obviously had an excellent season last year in a lot of shootouts, which I think helped, obviously, sack numbers. I think he'd be an excellent addition to the team, but that's still a wildly costly acquisition. But at the same time, I'm sitting here complaining about a lack of pass rush juice, which I think is going to be extremely critical with our secondary kind of having the weaknesses that it has, specifically from the cornerback position. So you need a little bit of pass rush to cover up some of those secondary issues. And I don't think we have enough pass rush for that right now. I think we're incredibly middle of the pack in that regard. Maybe bottom end of the league, even depending on how much, again, how Khalil plays this year and how Thule plays this year with less special team snaps. So I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out, but I'm not particularly attached to a Trey Hendrickson trade, but you wouldn't see me frowning upon it if it did happen either. But if Micah Parsons is truly available, go get him. You have my blessing. I know that Joe Ortiz watches all my videos so that he knows what he has blessings on. But uh but yeah, so we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, again, like I said, it's a microcosm of exactly what this Charger season was. I think they played well down the stretch. We have a lot of young guys, a lot of depth across our roster. Um, the offensive line and their massive struggles throughout the second once the starters came off the field, like in not even all of them off the field. Like we had some serious protection issues up front on the offensive line. Um, we have depth everywhere besides the tip of our spear. So the tip might end up being a little bit dull if we start having to deal with some injuries, which obviously I'm not very excited about. But let's just hope that we've done enough elsewhere to cover up some of those spots. There's no team in the NFL that's perfect, especially come January, February. Maybe the Eagles, because they mostly played three quarters every game because they didn't have to really. Man, that team is loaded. Outside of that, you don't really have a whole lot of teams that have that much depth and are that healthy come the end of the year. So let's just hope that our team holds up more than most of them, and specifically on that offensive line where we don't have any additional help. But I mean, regardless, it's been a good preview as far as some of the young depth that this team has been able to build. I think that our ability to draft later into the rounds is really showing, but we still have some top end areas that are going to be of a concern, especially against when we see him perform the way that we did against second stringers. There's concern out there, and rightfully so. All we can do is kind of, as people who watch football, hope for the best and talk about it realistically. I mean, you could talk about it completely positively. That works too. If you're talking about it completely negatively, no one's going to want to listen to you. Um, I guess a couple people do because there is one guy out there on the interwebs, but and somehow he still has followers. But I mean, we're fans. We're fans of the team at the end of the day. But we're realistic too, and we want to talk about exactly what we saw out there. Cause for concern, cause for excitement. Um, just focus more on the excitement. But on to next week. We'll get one more snapshot here next week. I don't know how much more starter play we'll get, and then we'll be right into the regular season before we know it, ladies and gents. So let's get ready for some real Chargers football, and see what else happens this week. See how this team continues to sharpen up. I will put together a new 53-man roster projection now that we're a heck of a lot closer than my guesstimate about 45 days ago. Oh boy, was that looking rough. So I'll put something together for that. That'll be a fun episode to have later on this week. And either way, I hope you guys are excited as I am. Hopefully QJ's back in a couple of weeks, back to full health with no concerns. Hopefully Alohi gets back to full health and this team can get up and running. But either way, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for listening today, and go Bolts. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys like what you heard, please feel free to give me a like and subscribe. Helps me a ton. Also helps you guys stay up to date on all new content as I'm releasing it. If you're not already on my YouTube channel, feel free to hop on over at Nature's Calls Pod. Also on Spotify under Nature's Calls Podcast. Or if you like to consume your content just by scrolling, go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at Erdman Chargers. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Talk to you real soon.